ये बिट्टू कहाँ गया? अभी तो यहीं पर था। बिट्टू! बिट्टू, क्या क्या है ये? हाँ? तू टॉयलेट सीट के अंदर सोया है? हाँ? सोने दो, इसके अंदर ठंडी ठंडी में बहुत मजा आ रहा है। इस बिट्टू ने बहुत परेशान कर दिया है, हमारी तो जिंदगी खराब कर दी इसने। बेटा पढ़ाई कर ले। पढ़ाई करने से क्या होगा? बेटा पढ़ाई करने से एग्जाम में अच्छे नंबर आएंगे, उससे क्या होगा? तू अच्छे नंबर से पास होगा तो तेरी अच्छी नौकरी लगेगी, तो फिर उससे क्या होगा? तेरी अच्छी नौकरी होगी तो तू अच्छे पैसे कमाएगा। अरे तो फिर उससे क्या होगा? अबे अच्छे पैसे कमाएगा तो जिंदगी में आराम करेगा। हाँ, मैं वही तो कर रहा हूँ। इसमें पढ़ाई करने की क्या जरूरत है? अब मुझे सोने दो। इस बिट्टू ने बहुत परेशान कर दिया है। आज इसके नए ट्यूशन टीचर आने वाले थे, क्या हुआ? बस आने ही वाला होगा। बिट्टू उठ, तुझे ट्यूशन पढ़ाने नया टीचर आ रहा है। उठ उठ, जल्दी उठ। खुद तो तुम पढ़ते नहीं हो, मेरे पीछे पड़े रहते हो। खड़े क्या हो? खींच के ले जाओ बाहर। अरे 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 सोने दो। अरे अरे सोने दो। लो, इसके ट्यूशन टीचर भी आ गए हैं। अरे 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 अरे, बाइक बाहर खड़ी करो। भाई साहब, मेरा एक उसूल है, बाइक तो मैं घर के अंदर ही खड़ी करूंगा। पर क्यों? क्योंकि मेरी बाइक मेरी जान है। अगर मेरी बाइक में जरा सी धूल बैठ गई, मैं सबकी दुनिया हिला दूंगा, दुनिया। अगर मेरी बाइक से परेशानी है तो मैं वापस जाता हूँ। अरे गुरुजी, गुस्सा क्यों करते हो? यहीं पर खड़ी कर दो। तो बताओ, किसको पढ़ाना है ट्यूशन? ये मेरा बेटा बिट्टू बहुत सीधा बच्चा है। और गुरुजी, ये बहुत खतरनाक है। खतरनाक तो मैं भी हूँ। अब मेरा ट्यूशन पढ़ाने का टाइम हो गया है, तुम दोनों की आवाज नहीं निकलेगी, समझे? हाँ गुरुजी, हाँ हाँ। कितना सीधा बच्चा है, खतरनाक बोल रहे हो, हैं? बेटा मुझे नमस्ते बोलो। आलू गोभी सस्ते, अब निकलो अपने रास्ते। बेटा मुझे मजाक में मत लेना, मैं बहुत खतरनाक टीचर हूँ। खतरनाक खतरनाक। नमस्ते बोल, नमस्ते बोल। नमस्ते नमस्ते। अबे पैरों से नमस्ते कौन करता है? हाँ? कौन करता है? बोल। अरे बोल बोल। मैं करता हूँ। बेटा अगर ज्यादा बदतमीजी की तो चड्डी उतार के मारूंगा। अगर मैं बदतमीजी करूं तो आप अपनी चड्डी क्यों उतारोगे? अबे तेरी चड्डी उतार के मारूंगा। हट! तुम लोगों ने क्या आइटम पाल रखा है ये बता, तुझे क्या आता है? मुझे गाना गाना आता है। परदेसी परदेसी जाना नहीं, मुझे छोड़ के हाय। चुप! अबे इसके अलावा क्या आता है? मुझे आपकी बाइक चलानी आती है। बेटा मुझे मजाक में मत लेना। अंकल थोड़ा चलाने दो। अबे मैं तेरा अंकल नहीं, गुरु हूँ, गुरु। ओके गुरु घंटाल। मैं एक सवाल पूछता हूँ। अरे सवाल बाद में पूछना, पहले बाइक चलाने दो। सुधार नहीं सकते इसको? तुम्हारा बेटा तो सुनता ही नहीं है, इसको कोई संस्कार नहीं दिए क्या? मैंने संस्कार तो बहुत दिए, लेकिन इसने लिए ही नहीं। गुरुजी, आपकी शादी हो गई? हाँ हो गई। आपके कितने बच्चे हैं? मेरी कोई औलाद नहीं है। पापा। क्या बोला? दोबारा बोल। आप मेरे पापा। मेरे पापा, मेरे पापा। मुझे पापा बोला, मुझे पापा बोला। मजा आ गया, मजा आ गया। मैं पापा सुनने के लिए 10 साल से तरस रहा था, इसने मुझसे पापा बोला। पापा। अरे गुरुजी, तू चुप कर। आज मेरा बेटा पैदा हुआ है। पापा मुझे बाइक चलाने दो। बेटा तू अभी छोटा है, तू नहीं चला पाएगा। पापा आई लव यू। इसने मुझे लव यू बोला। बेटा तेरा प्यार देखकर मेरी आंखों में आंसू आ गए हैं। पापा थोड़ा नजदीक आओ। मुआ, मुआ। एक बेटे का अपने बाप के लिए इतना प्यार। पापा मैं बाइक चला लूं? जा बेटा जा, चला। तुझे चलानी आती है ना? हाँ हाँ मुझे आती है। गुरुजी इसको नहीं आती, ये झूठ बोल रहा है। तू चुप कर, एक शब्द मत बोलना। वो मेरा बेटा है, बेटा। अरे ये मेरा बेटा है। जा बेटा जा, चला चला। आज मैं तो बाप बन गया, आज मैं तो बाप बन गया। हट हट, आज मैं तो बाप।
The corn swayed gently under the morning sun, golden green stalks stretching endlessly across the horizon, each one whispering secrets in the wind. My cornfield had been in my family for generations, not just a plot of land, but a living testament to history and persistence. But lately, something had been off. The soil had a subtle hum, almost imperceptible, like the faint vibration of a distant engine buried deep below. I chalked it up to imagination at first, or maybe the exhaustion of years spent tending the land, but the sensation persisted, and it carried with it a strange sort of energy, a pulse that seemed almost alive. I had learned to respect it, to plant my corn around its rhythm, though I didn't fully understand what I was feeling. Some nights, I could swear the earth beneath me shifted slightly, as if the land itself had secrets it wasn't ready to share. Then Karen arrived. She was the type of person who radiated authority the moment she stepped onto a property she didn't own. Wa Karen, they called her, though I had never met anyone more painfully exacting and intolerant of imperfection. She came striding across my cornfield in a pair of sharply pointed shoes that seemed utterly unsuitable for dirt, dragging a clipboard that rattled like a weapon in her hands. Her hair glistened in the sunlight, meticulously coiffed, and her eyes scanned every inch of my land with the intensity of a predator sizing up prey. "I'm here on behalf of the HOA, she said, her voice perfectly rehearsed, clipped and commanding. There have been complaints about this land being unutilized. The community has decided to expand parking facilities, and your cornfield lies squarely in the designated zone." I blinked. Parking facilities? I asked, incredulous. On my cornfield? You do realize I planted these crops last spring? Karen's smile was sharp, almost cruel. Rules are rules. It doesn't matter what you planted. The land's proximity to the community center makes it ideal. We'll be paving it over by next week. I stared at her, the words hanging in the air like smoke. Paving over my family's cornfield. That wasn't just reckless, it was absurd. I wanted to shout, to pull out my phone and call the authorities, but something in her demeanor froze me. She had a way of moving, of speaking, that made people hesitate, as if resistance were a crime. Still, I couldn't just stand there. You can't just, I began, but she held up a hand. I've already coordinated with the surveyors. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is scheduled for next Saturday. I assume you'll want to witness the transformation. Her suggestion made my skin crawl. Witness the destruction of something sacred. I thought about the humming beneath the ground, about the strange pulse I had felt in the soil every morning and night. My grandfather used to say the land had memory, that it responded to care and respect. Could it also feel betrayal? I walked slowly through the rows of corn, my fingers brushing the tops, feeling the vibrations in the earth that no one else could notice. My mind raced. The WA might have legal paperwork, surveys, and ceremonial ribbons, but they had no idea what they were stepping into. They had no clue that this cornfield wasn't just ordinary farmland. Beneath it, something older than human memory lay dormant, a lattice of energy that hummed softly but unmistakably alive. Karen followed me, clicking her heels on the soil, clipboard shaking slightly with every step. "You know," she said, "most landowners would be thrilled at this opportunity. A paved parking lot increases property values for everyone. But you seem oddly attached to dirt." I stopped walking and turned to face her. "It's not just dirt," I said firmly. "This land, it's alive. And I'm telling you, you don't want to push it too far." Karen laughed lightly, the sound sharp like glass breaking. "Alive? Really?" "Are you trying to scare me, or do you actually believe that?" I didn't answer. I couldn't explain it properly, not yet. Words could never capture the hum beneath the ground, the tiny shivers that ran through the corn when no wind blew, the way the earth seemed to pulse in rhythm with something I didn't fully understand. For a moment, the sun reflected off Karen's sunglasses, blinding me, and I saw her expression falter just slightly, a flicker of unease beneath the polished exterior. But she quickly masked it, smoothing her blouse and straightening her spine. "Anyway," she said, as if she had never wavered, "consider this a formal notice. The machines will arrive next week, and I suggest you either cooperate or move aside." I watched her stride back to her car, her heels sinking slightly into the soil with each step. She had no idea what she had just threatened. My cornfield wasn't just soil and seeds, it was a living network, a field charged with energy, built upon a secret I had inherited but barely understood. Something ancient and patient slept beneath the roots, and it could wait, or awaken. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the corn, I walked back through the rows, feeling the vibrations grow stronger. I pressed my palm to the ground, closing my eyes, listening to the pulse beneath my fingertips. It was subtle, almost melodic, like the echo of an enormous heart. It was waiting, and so was I. Karen thought she had the power. She thought she could wield authority and paperwork like weapons. But she hadn't met a keeper before, and she didn't know that some legacies were older than any law, older than any law. Some fields weren't just farmland, they were instruments, conduits, guardians of forces that refused to be tamed by bureaucratic greed. And as I stood there, feeling the rhythm of the earth beneath me, I knew one thing with perfect clarity: Karen might get her ribbon-cutting ceremony, but she would never, ever claim what wasn't hers. Not until I allowed it. The wind rustled through the corn, whispering promises I didn't yet understand, and I smiled faintly. Let her come. Let her think she had the upper hand. She wouldn't know what hit her until it was far too late. The morning was crisp, the sun barely cresting the horizon, when the rumble began. At first, it was subtle, a low vibration underfoot that I almost mistook for the pulse of the earth I had grown accustomed to. But then it grew, mechanical and relentless, echoing across my cornfield like the approach of some massive beast. I stepped out of my farmhouse, squinting against the early light, and saw them. Trucks, bulldozers, and machines of every description, cutting through my crop like knives through silk. The WA had arrived, and they weren't here to negotiate. Karen was perched on a platform at the edge of the field, clipboard in hand, surveying the scene with the kind of satisfaction only someone convinced of their own righteousness could feel. She wore a hard hat now, bright orange against the green of the corn, as if she were some commander leading an army into battle. The operators followed her instructions with meticulous obedience, marking boundaries and paving lines without so much as a glance at the devastation they were leaving behind. I walked closer, boots sinking into damp soil, feeling the vibrations of both machine and earth collide beneath me. Every inch of corn they tore out left the ground raw and trembling. The pulse beneath the field, the strange hum I had always felt, grew louder, angrier, almost as if the land itself was crying out. It was subtle, almost musical, but layered. Beneath it was a resonance that made the hairs on my neck stand on end. My grandfather's words came back to me: the land remembers. It knows who tends it and who steals from it. Karen waved at me, bright and smug, as if acknowledging my presence was a courtesy I owed her. "Morning, neighbor," she called, her voice carrying across the field like a whip. "Don't you want to see progress? This will increase property values and give the community a proper parking area. Isn't that exciting?" I clenched my fists, watching the machines grind through stalk after stalk of golden corn. I wanted to yell, to stop them, to show her that this wasn't just property being destroyed. Something older than any WA bylaws was awakening beneath the treads of their bulldozers. But I hesitated. I had to let it play out. As the first asphalt was poured, the ground beneath it reacted. Tiny fissures appeared, almost imperceptible at first, snaking through the soil like veins. The vibrations grew, spreading in a rhythm that no human machine could match. The alien lattice beneath my field, the network of energy I had only begun to understand, stirred, sensing the intrusion. The hum turned into a low chant, a vibration that resonated in the chest and spine. I could feel it trying to communicate, trying to warn, trying to awaken. Karen didn't notice. She was too busy directing the work, signaling the operators, and snapping photos to send to her newsletter. She didn't see the way the corn leaned away from the machinery, how the air above the field shimmered faintly, as if the heat waves from the asphalt were reacting to something unseen below. Then came the first real sign that something was not right. A bulldozer, moving too fast, suddenly jerked to a halt as if the earth itself had seized it. Sparks flew from its undercarriage, and the operator jumped back, yelling, but the machine refused to move. Karen ran over, her heels clanging against the pavement, eyes wide with disbelief. "What's going on? This isn't possible. Move it." I stepped closer, feeling the vibration in my bones, the pulse beneath the soil intensifying. The alien lattice had fully awakened, and it was reacting not with violence, not yet, but with intelligence. The bulldozer shuddered, lifted slightly as if the earth itself were pushing against it, and then, incredibly, slid backward a few feet on its own accord, guided by forces no human mind could comprehend. Karen's face paled. She had always been in control, always the enforcer of rules, the executor of community decisions, but now she looked small, vulnerable. "Call it off," she screamed into her radio, but the operators froze, eyes darting around as if the field itself had become a living, thinking entity. The asphalt already poured began to ripple slightly, like water disturbed by wind, refusing to settle into its new form. I walked through the chaos, weaving between the frozen machines and startled workers, feeling the pulse strengthen with every step. It wasn't just energy. It wasn't just vibration. It was awareness. The cornfield had been waiting, sleeping, hidden beneath layers of soil, until the moment it was threatened. And now it had recognized the intruders. Karen stood in the center of the unfolding anomaly, screaming orders that nobody could follow, while the land beneath her feet vibrated in rhythm with my heartbeat. I could sense the quantum resonance activating, the alien lattice adjusting to the human attempt at domination. It was subtle, almost imperceptible to anyone else, but I could feel it threading through the machines, the soil, even the air itself. And then, the first visible effect appeared. The rows of corn, still intact on the edges, began to twist subtly, curling toward each other as if forming barriers. The pavement already poured bubbled slightly, small cracks zigzagging across its surface as the lattice beneath reacted. The operators backed away, fear finally overtaking their confusion. Karen didn't move. She had never been trained to deal with anything this unpredictable. I took a deep breath and allowed myself a small smile. This was only the beginning. Let them try to take what didn't belong to them. Let them try to impose their rules on something far older than any war regulation. The machines would not prevail here. Not yet. Karen's voice cut through the tension, shrill and desperate. "I don't care what you're feeling, move. I am the Wa. I have authority." Authority meant nothing to the lattice beneath my feet. It didn't answer to letters, legal documents, or ceremonial ribbons. It answered only to those who understood it, those who respected it, and those who had been entrusted with its care. And today, the field was awake, aware, and ready to assert its will. By the time the sun reached its peak, the entire field hummed with energy, the machinery immobilized or retreating to the edges. Karen, red-faced and flustered, stood amid the chaos, unaware that she had just triggered the first stage of the awakening. The corn swayed rhythmically, almost like dancers performing to a melody only the field could hear, and the asphalt refused to stay flat, rippling under a force no human could comprehend. I looked at the chaos, feeling the pulse reverberate through my body, and I knew something. This wasn't just my cornfield. It had always been more. And now, with Karen's audacity forcing it awake, the time had come for the field, and I, to remind her that some things in this world were untouchable, that some land carried power far beyond human understanding, and that trespassers would not leave unchallenged. And as I watched her glare, futile and enraged, I whispered to the field, letting the lattice hear my voice, "Let them try. Let them learn.